Do lawyers hate AI? Most people assume we want you to avoid it at all costs. But here's the truth. My law firm uses Gemini every single day. We just use it differently. We use it safely, and we built 10 hacks that keep our clients compliant while still getting all the benefits of AI. If you want your clinic to stay safe in 2026, this is the playbook you need. So let me start with a personal example. When we're using AI at Holt Law, and we were starting to do it in the beginning, we didn't have good protocols and rules around what to use and how to do it. And so staff members were being very entrepreneurial and trying out AI. But the issue, very similar to healthcare practitioners, is lawyers need to keep things confidential. So when you put information onto a public or free AI model, that information is then effectively being shared out with the world. My staff didn't know that. It's not like they were doing it on purpose, and they weren't, fortunately, doing it with any client files, but they could have. And we caught them early and just said, hey, we are only committing to our paid version, which is HIPAA compliant, because as a healthcare business law firm, we also need to be HIPAA compliant. Plus, we have all of the legal confidentiality rules as well. And so it's very similar for you as a medical professional. You have HIPAA. You have protected health information. And what that means is you have this kind of dangerous, sensitive information that can't just be willy-nilly thrown into an AI tool. It generally needs to be a HIPAA compliant and paid premium version. And so for us, for example, the paid version of Gemini currently is HIPAA compliant. It's very easy to set up. You do need to pay. I'm unsure about the free version, nor will I comment, because it can change month to month. But the paid premium version of Gemini is currently HIPAA compliant. Now, another point to just utilizing AI in general is that the contracts written by AI may not be necessarily enforceable. And so what's important to do is that, again, use my prompts from the previous podcast episode, but also to, in a perfect world, get those reviewed by an attorney, and to make sure when your staff are using the prompts that it's actually has some sort of quality control. Because regulators are already reviewing AI use cases. They're already looking at when bots or AI agents or AI work makes its way out into the world and actually harms people, which does happen on occasion. AI is on everyone's minds, and I think personally that the public and news outlets are always looking for that next big breach or example. So don't be that example by following simple rules. The key one being awareness, right? Most risks are invisible until too late. So how do you actually use AI safely? Let's look at the hacks that can keep you compliant. All right, so let's jump into the 10 hacks. We'll start with number 1. So we're going to remove identifiers before entering data. What I mean by that is it's not, David Holt, 37-year-old male with sleep apnea, into AI. It's actually just patient with sleep apnea, right? Removing identifying information, and the degree that you need to do that will depend on the scenario, but that absolutely needs to be done. I would do that in both free and paid versions, just because even if you're HIPAA compliant, why is it relevant to put the patient's name into AI? Hack number 2. So use AI only for drafts, not for final legal docs. So of course, I'm an attorney on a podcast. You're watching that. I get it. This is all really useful information, but I have to tell you at the end of the day, if you're just using AI, you have no one to hold accountable. You can't sue Google Gemini for a missed output that you put in as the prompt for not hiring an attorney. And so you don't have that accountability. It'd be the same if I didn't go into you to do my skincare or my procedures, or I didn't go see a doctor and I just Googled it online, and lo and behold, WebMD or even AI was wrong. And I went with their information and my skin, burned off, and I have nobody to hold accountable but myself, right? So at the end of the day, use this only for drafts, not final legal docs. Okay, hack number 3, train your staff on safe prompt rules. What I mean by that is similar to number 1, I want to make sure that the information that you're inserting into the AI engine is actually going to produce a solution that's on track, rather than simply, uploading a bunch of information that doesn't need to be in there. Generally in healthcare, we're dealing with a minimum necessary to complete the task standard. And so, although it's slightly different than what I was saying on my previous episode about having nice, good prompts, the actual data that you put in should just be the minimum necessary to complete the task. Number 4, and we did this at Holt Law too, it is always have written AI use policies. So tell your staff how and why to use them, just like you would for HIPAA, for OSHA, for how to answer the phones, how to take a prescription, how to run the front desk, how to do their job, right? We have standard operating protocols. The same is for AI. And then that can be revisited just with how quickly AI is going right now to add use cases, to remove things that aren't working well. But let's have a set of guardrails or guidelines at the beginning. Number 5, we're going to separate our AI output and review it by humans. So at the end of the day, very similar to legal advice, if it's assisted by AI, that's great. But at the end of the day, the lawyer is ultimately responsible for the outcome. And lawyers are humans as of today. And so what that means is that when the prompts actually come out and we got a solution, I need to put my stamp of approval on it as an attorney. Same would be true for you as a business owner, as would be a medical practitioner if you're trying to run and clean up a medical record of sorts. Ultimately, it needs to be reviewed by a human. 6, encrypt and limit access to AI data. Again, we're focused on a minimum necessary to do the job standard. And so password protection, number 1, no brainer, but also HIPAA compliant version of the AI tools and limiting access to the actual results. So healthcare providers under state and federal rules, we're only using the information minimally necessary to do the job. I wouldn't give access to my marketing staff on every little detail of my AI outputs for patient medical records. That's just unnecessary. But there might be some general components of the patients that I'm working with. Maybe I'm working with sleep apnea patients or I'm doing cosmetic surgery. There might be a redacted version that I give to the marketing team. So very different things. Number 7, hack number 7, document what the AI is actually used for. So what we're doing here is we're building a record of why we're using AI. We're being smart and intentional with it. We're not just letting the machines take over, right? And so this goes back to the standard operating protocols is we're using AI, but intentionally. It's got a lot of sensation right now. It'll continue to have that. There's a big wave, but let's document what AI is used for, because on the legal side of things, this might come into play when, a patient or a lawyer is trying to sue us and say, hey, they just let AI go wild and here's all the bad things that it did. Number 8, hack number 8, and very related to that, is you need to update the policies as regulations evolve. And I think we need to assume that AI is going to continue to stick around and evolve rapidly. So it's not unheard of, and it wouldn't be a bad policy to revisit on at least a quarterly basis. But to be honest, I would do it on a monthly basis, and we may get into unique times where it's even more frequent than that. And that's because the AI tools themselves are evolving, the use cases are evolving, and honestly, the amount of information and things that we are learning about AI is evolving as well. So your policies need to keep up. Number 9, use legal approved prompts for consistency. So there's a difference between legal advice and also what we're prompting the AI tool for. And small distinctions can get you into a lot of trouble. So if you have a lawyer on top of the prompts themselves, making sure that those prompts themselves are legally compliant, that in and of itself is a step on its own. So making sure that you actually use legal approved prompts for consistency. Slightly different than the legal advice itself, by the way. And finally, number 10, build an AI sandbox or workspace for the non-sensitive work. So if we're not dealing with PHI, we're not dealing with medical records, we're not dealing with anything that has to do with the patient data itself, maybe we're just trying to do a marketing social media posts, generally about the type of patient that we're trying to serve. That is okay to live in its own separate workspace. Okay, that's fine. Now, we still need to check if that marketing is compliant. There are certain things that we can and can't say about our outcomes and whether we cure certain things in healthcare, but that can live in its own separate workspace or sandbox for non-sensitive work. And that may enable you to work a little bit quicker and without as many guardrails as some of the protected health information. Now, these hacks keep you safe, but the real power is how AI can fuel growth when used responsibly. AI isn't optional anymore, and the clinics that use it safely will win. They're going to win in the competitive landscape, and they're going to have a competitive advantage over those that don't and live a little bit more in fear. The good news is that when you use AI legally, compliant, you're going to be okay. And these legal hacks will protect your license while maximizing your productivity as a business owner. In 2026 and beyond, regulators are going to reward those who build the safe frameworks early, and they're going to punish those who haphazardly utilized AI. Those are going to be the use cases and the ones that end up with public disciplinary actions and potentially lawsuits. But safe use of AI means more time for growth and less risk of legal headaches. When used appropriately, it can be a compliance tool alongside a law firm or attorney that is actually helping implement policies and procedures and make those a little bit easier in terms of compliance. Things that used to take humans a long time to do, we can now speed up with the use of AI. The clinics that thrive in 2026 won't avoid AI. They'll master it safely. All right, so now you know how to use AI safely in 2026 and beyond. But here's the bigger picture. AI is a tool, not a replacement. In the next episode, we'll talk about why you are still your clinic's greatest asset, no matter how advanced AI becomes.